Hey there, you, me, and DC fans, and welcome if you're new. I am the Stepstone of Krypton,
I'm Mantis.
and today we are discussing the Summer of Superman special #1 comic right here. Oh, yes, that is Supergirl, and she is hot. Uh, from All In DC Comics, kicking off the Summer of Superman, getting us ready for the movie. Mantis, are you ready to dive on into this comic book?
I'm ready to fly on in a single bound. Or dang it, leap, leap into it in a single bound. Yes, there we go.
Yes, there you go. Perfect. All right. And with that, we'll go ahead and get on into it. So let's go. All right, guys. So the Summer of Superman special issue 1 has released. Now, with what Mantis was kind of referring to, we have actually done a previous video on Action Comics, just did a reprint of Action Comics #1 from June 1938, the first appearance of Superman. And in there, it says that, obviously he can leap a 20-story building in a single bound. He can jump up to 1/8 of a mile. They're very, very specific about that. So that is what he's in reference to. For those of you who may be too young to remember that,
Check out that video.
yes, definitely. I'll have it down here. It's a 50-50 on whether I'll actually have it linked, guys. I'm still bad about that. I'm still struggling to try to answer all the comments and stuff, guys. So, we definitely do appreciate that. Everybody who is commenting on the videos, I am getting better on it. All right. Mantis is going to hold me more accountable. So, obviously the Summer of Superman, exciting time. We have a lot of new comics coming out this several months leading up to the Superman movie, which we have done on the previous videos. We have been talking about. I love, right, all the different forms of media that they're trying to get the hype out. We've got Creature Commandos and things of that nature on the animated side. Now we've got the finally a almost 5-minute sneak peek that if on as of April 24th, MSN just released fucking breaking news 3 weeks ago. But we also have that video out as well too for the sneak peek. Go check that out. So this one is an interesting one because as you kind of start thumbing through it, as we go through it here, you're gonna like put some tie-ins together in some of the other videos we've done. So here we start out. Obviously, this is a variant cover. If you can get this one, I would recommend getting this variant cover. She's definitely hot.
And look at that Connie. Jesus Christ, I bet that thing's so tight you gotta call the city to get in there.
So we kind of do a flashback. Okay, so we start out in Smallville, and we're 20 years into the past, right? We see a young Lana Lang, and she's sitting on the porch with Clark Kent. I like that they said, you know what, we'll go ahead and make Lana a redhead. Always good stuff. And they're talking, and he's getting some narration in there, and we kind of get the little background on Lana about being the heartbeat of Smallville, and she's Little Miss Perfect. Everybody loves her, including Clark. And he's going to tell Lana how he really feels. And of course, the narration starts out and says, "The day I told Lana everything," right? So he's going to tell her that he has these powers, and just as it looks like he's going to, he hears something off in the distance, and we see him, and he uses his telescope vision, and we get to see that it looks like almost like the parasite for when you see that quick view of it, because it's this kind of purple guy. You don't know who it is.
At first I thought it was like it kind of looked like somebody from like Dragon Ball Z. Honestly, it looked like a Dragon Ball Z, one of the Ginyu Squad or something.
Guys, I know nothing about Dragon Ball. Let me know if his references is on point or not. I can't say.
We'll put a Ginyu Squad on here.
Yeah, I'll have one up there on the screen. So we see him, and we see this creature, and he's throwing this truck. So Clark makes up this, and I don't know if I'm about to tell a girl I love her and that I have all these special powers. I don't know that, hey, I gotta go take a shit real quick is necessarily the route I would go to make my excuse so I can go and help. But we see Clark fly away, and then we get to this point, we see him do the whistle, right? And as soon as you see it, you know what's coming, right? Boom. There's Crypto flying up there with him. Now, the interesting thing is we see Clark in the Superman suit as a kid, right? They're still in high school. We're 20 years ago, and we see Crypto there. right? So that's kind of interesting. We've not actually we don't normally see that, that he's got the
Mhm.
suit. So you're kind of like, okay, he's got the suit. Um, and then the narration is mentioning that this is Validus. Again, I apologize. I think that's how you say his name. I
Mhm.
apologize. That's what I'm going to say this whole damn time because that's the one time I've heard his name. That's how they pronounced it. So I'm going with that, right? Um, and we learn that Validus is in the Legion of Supervillains, right? Uh, Now we know, for those of you who have been following with the Justice League Unlimited, that we've seen the Legion of Doom basically get resurrected. That was at the end of the issue 5. Also, check out that
Mhm.
video. That's the problem, man. We put out so many damn videos that everything's a reference back to something we've
It
already
is.
done.
I know. I
Um,
know.
but it's good stuff. It gives you a lot of content. It gives you a lot of in depth detail. We hope you like these videos. Um, so we see him, and Clark's done battle with him multiple times. However, it was in the future. But then we see young Clark, and he calls him Validus, and he's saying he's confused. That it's kind of like this outside perspective of he's saying, hey, like somehow he knows him, but it's in the past, right? But he knows him from the
Mhm.
future. So you're kind of like scratching your head because he's talking about how he knows his strength and his lightning blast. And you're like, okay, well, if he's
How did I
fought him
know that?
on the future, how are we dealing with him 20 years in the past? And yet he knows him. We see this like kind of as they say the words to this, it's kind of like this portal or whatever, and you kind of learn that it's this time flow that they both basically get sucked into, right? Right as they're fighting, he's talking about his strength. We see him go, and he goes into this time stream,
Mm.
right? And throughout, we see different aspects of Clark's past and future. Including, we see Doomsday over there. Um,
Mhm.
and then we learned that it says that the Legionnaires gave Superman a mental block on remember anything, any facts about his future. Right, he can go into the past, but he won't remember anything about the future. But then, of course, we're dealing with 20-year ago Clark, who's getting ready to tell Lana that he loves her and he's Superman. And everything. Clark sees this woman, and he's seeing part of the future, and that he's getting ready to get married to this woman, and he's wondering, and he knows it's not Lana, right?
Mm.
Uh, so then now he's confused because he thought Lana Lang was going to be the woman of his dreams, and it's not. And just as he's trying to, he's getting ready to hit Validus with one final punch, boom, he winds up back in Kansas. He goes back to Lana. She bought his excuse, but then he chooses not to reveal everything to her. But it says that he does reveal it to her in the future. So he wasn't supposed to remember anything about his future. So you're kind of at this point wondering what exactly is going on.
It's like Quentin Tarantino's worst nightmare. Like, honestly, all this jumping forward, backwards through time streams, kind of. Yeah, kind of hard to follow there at the beginning, but it does give a. There was a couple of cool things. You did see Doomsday, like the overgrown monster version of Doomsday. There, it looks like he's fighting that guy in the time stream. But what I was confused about, like, what are these like cavemen, like, what is that about? Like, is it like through the history of also like Earth as well, like not just them, like their time frame, but like all of time, looks like.
Well, and you'll find out a little bit more about that here in the next few pages, that what's happening with him, right? So it is kind of like a complete history because we see some satellites, we see some old looking monument looking type buildings, we see the Daily Planet, we see all of this stuff. So yeah, it looks
Hmm.
like it's the entire expanse of time. Um, so then we go to chapter 2. Now I will tell you guys, for this Summer of Superman special, this is a long one. This is probably double the normal length of a comic book because I think it's like 37, 38 pages.
Woo.
um and we're back in Smallville, except we're present day now, right? And we're at a wedding, and we see it's Lana Lang's wedding, and she's getting
Mm.
married to John Henry Irons. Now,
Ah.
for my Superman and Lois fans, we know at the literally like last episode of Superman and Lois, Lana is getting married to John Henry Irons in that.
Everyone, please take your seats.
So thought that was kind of a nice little tie-in. I'm not saying it's tied into it, but like season 4 just released not too long ago, so it's still fresh in like my mind. I'm sure it's in a lot of people's minds, so it's kind of cool to see that hey, they're getting married like they did in the show. So but we see the two of them talking, and it doesn't look so happy. Okay. So one thing that's interesting though is when Clark and Lois are talking, she even says that she's using her super hearing, right? So because she's listening in, she mentions her super hearing, and it's like leaving us believe, okay, so then Lois has powers in
Has
this,
powers?
right?
Yeah.
So, and just kind of as everything seems like it's getting back on track, they have the little after school special heart to heart, key, sad Sarah McLachlan music type stuff going in. Boom, portal opens up, Validus comes back in, right? And you're like, okay. But you also kind of learn that it's the exact same point that he returned to. Like, it's the same location. It's just at a different time, right? And then I don't know what it is. I swear to God, I don't know what it is with Superman and these damn things. But we basically get tornadoes. A big storm comes out, and there's these tornadoes. And I'm like, no. I was like, because
not again.
I didn't mention it, but we also learned like in this time frame, Jonathan and Martha are still alive, as you'll kind of find out here in the next little bit. You'll see them, and I'm like, if you take Jonathan by another damn tornado, no, you're not doing that. Okay. So this massive storm comes out. Okay. Then we see Lana Lang in a suit with the Superman symbol on it, right? But the weird thing is, it kind of looks like she's on fire from the comic book page. However, you kind of learn that it's actually like electricity. It just they did it really bad, making it look like fucking orange. So I'm like, it looks like she's the Phoenix or something.
Yeah, it did kind of,
yeah. And so we see that now we've got Nat, John Henry Irons' niece, we've got Lois, we have Superman, and now we've got Lana. Everybody is out with powers, right? You're like, okay,
like, what is happening?
Yeah, and I was like, all right. So Superman and Lois, funny, we just referenced the show. Now it's Superman and Lois going over to help save the townspeople, while John Henry Irons and Nat, they are trying to fight Validus for right now, switching it up a little bit. And then we see Lana, and that's where it says she's trying to absorb all of the energy, the lightning, and everything from the storm. She's trying to absorb some of its power, which that's where it kind of leads you to believe that it's more of electricity than fire, even though they decided to make it orange. So, then there comes the question: is why is Validus appearing at specific moments in the history of Superman and Clark and all of them here, and at that fixed location? Like, what's going on? Because and you kind of learn it basically. What it says is he's trapped in the time stream, but it's fixed to that location, so he's just appearing and reappearing. For him, it's instantaneous, right? He's leaving from one to another, but 20 years went by. So after the aftermath, okay, they fight Validus for a little bit more. He disappears again into the time stream. All right, and then of course Lana decides she's still going to get married. Right, she's not going to let a little interdimensional being.
The tornadoes destroyed Smallville. It's fucking. I mean, we're still getting married.
Well, I mean, you know what? Like, if half your city got destroyed and all this has happened and half your wedding and everything's gone, everybody's running for cover, you might as well, like, if you're gonna, if you want to make an omelet, you got to break a couple eggs, right? Like, like it'll be fine. They can still get married. So we go on to chapter 3. Now, chapter 3, the first chunk of it is really just a couple of pages, and it's all about the wedding. There's very little dialogue. Um, we see her kissing, kissing John Henry Irons. They're doing the whole thing. We see the wedding and the throwing of the bouquet. Again, not a whole lot. And then we kind of jump over to Superman's bringing in this big, huge portal thing, right? You kind of
Mhm.
wonder what he's doing, and it's funny because in the text he mentions he's seen multiple Earths, and he says this interesting phrase. He says, and the realm of gods and monsters, right? And that's key
Hmm.
because we know that James Gunn's DCU, the first chapter is called Gods and Monsters, right? I thought that
True.
was kind of interesting,
Yes.
right?
That's on purpose, obviously.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. Because the next part even kind of reaffirms that, right? Because when he's carrying that big portal looking thing, we see Mr. Terrific and he's
Mhm.
got the T spheres. So it's like, again,
Yep.
we're seeing some crypto being in it. Like, that's not an
Mhm.
accident, right? The way they're
Right.
doing this and the way they're setting this stuff
Yep.
up. So he's carrying this large portal device, and they're going to basically go into the time stream, and they're going to grab Validus, and they're going to place him in a containment field to like figure out what's going on. So now we see another person there with them, alongside Mister Terrific and Superman, and we learn because he says his narration saying, "Oh, this is one of the newest members of the Justice League. Her name is Omen." Right,
Mhm.
and it says that she has telepathic abilities as well, and it mentions Martian Manhunter's power still being out after Waller stole them. Right, so that's an
Oh.
interesting thing because that's a tie-in to the Justice League Unlimited series that we have been bringing you as well, which also
Mhm.
ties into the Absolute. So I love that all of this is tying in, but this is why also it makes it difficult as shit when if you jump into the middle of one of these universes in the comic books, like you can never catch back up, right?
It's hard to yeah, it's hard to even now, even though we know the storylines, and if you guys have been following along with us with our other videos of talking about Justice League Unlimited as well as the Absolute series and how all of this intertwines. I mean, we've been reading this, and it's still hard for me to follow. Like if you try to jump in on this at any point before that, I just don't know how. Like I just don't know how.
Well, and it's even weird too because I read some. I didn't read everything tied to the Absolute Power, which is what was right before the Justice League Unlimited, and in the first few issues of Justice League Unlimited and things, they referenced the Absolute Power, which
Hmm.
then you came into Justice League Unlimited. So, because Absolute Powers was where Amanda Waller had the robots and the Amazo robots, and they were stealing powers, and powers were getting displaced, and that's been happening all throughout the Justice League Unlimited and all the tie-ins as well. So you're like, okay, so this what's going on here is taking place inside the Justice League Unlimited, right? They're in the same universe.
Hmm.
Um, so then we get another battle with Validus. They get him out of the time stream. However, this time when he disappears, basically Omen says like Validus was scared and he's no longer in the time stream, right? So then it cuts to we get a little brief Superman kind of being, just a dad bringing the
Hmm.
kids home some pizza. We see some photographs and things like that. And again, that has a very Superman and Lois feel to it because he's, they kind of focus on him being a father in this. Um, so basically there's another narration now, except this time it's not Superman, and it says, um, I hoped Validus escaping into the past would have set off some red flags for Superman, and it warned the buddies back home what was about to be coming for them, right? And then again, we see the younger Superman on the next page. We see Crypto. We see Supergirl. We see Lobo, which Mantis just informed me that one of the variant covers for this, you should still want that one, but one of the
Hmm.
variant covers for this is Lobo. Now, this is the
Hmm.
only image we get of Lobo in the entire thing, but he's badass enough to make a variant cover. Again, I think it is very interesting because we see Supergirl there, and then we see Lobo, and we know her movie. He's going to be the
Hmm.
main villain in it, right? So I love the way they're doing this. It's
Oh yeah.
kind of tying everything together in its own right, right? Uh, so we see all of that, and then we also see what kind of looks like an evil Superman as well, and then we see what looks like a couple of members of the Legion, right? The Legionnaires,
Hmm.
but because like we see Lightning Lad, and they actually call him Lightning Lad at one point.
Yeah.
So in the epilogue, as that same narration's continuing, again we see kind of like the almost evil versions, and they're pleased that Validus, or said Darkseid will not be pleased that Validus went back and he messed up the timeline, right?
Hmm.
Um, so it says Superman needs to know that the future is already lost. And then we flash over and we see the last page is a chained up Booster Gold. Now,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the end of the All In DC special that birthed the Absolute Universe, Booster is the one, because in that special, they kind of made a big deal about Booster becoming a Justice League member and things. Booster's the one that disappears, and he's trying to go after Darkseid and what's going on. So he disappears in that fight, uh, and now we see him chained up. So you're like,
Oh man.
okay, was he jumping through time and universes? Is this part of again the absolute universe where and Booster's he's being held prisoner? So all of it sounds like it's going to end up being tied in together.
It's wild, man. This is wild.
It is, but I'm excited for it, man. I love it. Like I love because it even mentions in there. It's like, oh, from Justice League Unlimited. I'm like, as soon as I was reading it, I was like, wait a minute, it is in the Justice League Unlimited universe. It's awesome, the tie-ins, but that's why it's so important that you got to kind of stay up with what's going on in the Absolute universe, what's going on in the Justice League Unlimited universe. Actually, I just picked up, I think, Justice League Unlimited 6.
Oh, did that come out today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Gotcha.
Um,
Have to get down there. Yeah, because the guys, I didn't get this episode. I didn't get this this issue yet. I had to order it online. My comic book store did not have any copies, so
which is funny because we go to the same comic book store. This being a variant cover that is apparently very sought after, I just saw it on the shelf. I didn't even realize it was the Summer of Superman special. I just saw a hot looking Supergirl. I was like, oh, I'll get it. And then Mantis and I were discussing it that night, about like video topics and things. And I was like, and then he said, and I was talking about the cover, and he's like, "Is that a variant cover for the Summer of Superman special?" And I looked, and it says it up there in the corner. Oh shit! I didn't even pay attention, but that was the only one they had there. So apparently, all the others have been put on hold or sold, and I just lucked out and got that one. So, yeah, that's why I went ahead and did the video for you guys, just for all those people who may not have been able to get this one. Like I said, very long issue, loved it. It flowed together very, very well as far as just the overall like stories, but it was just difficult to follow with the jumping back and forth. But then they're like, wait a minute, you're as a kid, but you seem like you know the future. What is going on, right?
It's and they've done that several times. Like even in some of the Justice League and the comic books that we've done on the channel, they tend to kind of jump around like that a lot, and it's kind of jarring, especially the first time you read it. But when you read it again, like I've noticed that too. I went back and read a couple Justice League comics, and it makes more sense, obviously, when you reread it, and those jumps don't seem as jarring.
Well, it's like, especially when we have 5 or 6 comics a week, we have to try to read, right? Say have to, like we're just being forced. But when you have 5 or 6 to read, like especially our full-time jobs, we're trying to do this everything we're doing on the channel here. It's like, okay, I'm reading them quick, right? So sometimes like even video, I'm thumbing through it to kind of remember, because I've read so many that I'm getting older, man. It's harder to remember shit. But that's that second and third time through is when you start. Okay, I know the general of the story. Now I can kind of look for the odd things that maybe I just didn't catch, like something in the picture that was there that you're like, oh, that's tied into this. It's kind of like watching Fight Club or Donnie Darko. You got to watch those at least twice, and then you catch all the shit you missed the first time because you were trying to understand the story. So,
oh yeah.
But that's what makes it fun, right? That's the readability and just kind of like said, picking up all those little subtle nuances that you're like, oh, that's awesome. They added that in there, that little detail and things like that. So, guys, I apologize. I know this was a little bit longer of a one. Like I said, it was 37 pages, so it was almost double the length of like a normal comic book. So thank you for staying with us on that. If you have made it with us this far, consider giving the video a like. He's showing you where. And giving the video a like, even for Mantis too, because he's under the weather and he's still actually
Look,
doing the recording here.
It
So-
is the pollinating outside right now, and it's bad. Okay, it's bad. Where we live, it's bad right now. So
I don't have allergies. Now, anytime anything happens in the world, Mantis is always wanting to blame allergies. You could have a leg missing, it's allergies. But he does have bad allergies as well too. So yes, it is a little more difficult for him. So we thank
those
Mantis
of you
here on the
sufferers
channel
out there
for being a trooper and going through this, very lengthy comic book here with it, and scrolling through all of the different. It's like, well, we'll put some of the pictures up there so we kind of see. It helps a little bit to, hey, yeah, I remember this part. So
my 12-year-old mind, it helps me follow along.
I say that he's just been staring at the variant cover the whole time. It's fine. But
It's fine,
guys,
fine. Call me Validus.
Yes, we'll call you. If you enjoyed this content and us doing the comic books and things like that, if you like that, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. We are going to continue what's going on in the Absolute universe as well as Justice League Unlimited, and then any of these specials like this as well. And we have obviously all of the Superman, all the news coming out as we get closer to July with the movie. And
it's
for
ramping
you
up.
Marvel fans, yeah, it is creeping up, man. I mean, we're literally almost into May now. I'll cut the Justin Timberlake meme in there. It's gonna be May.
It's gonna be May. It's gonna be May. It's gonna be May. It's gonna be May.
It's gonna be May.
So, and we do some of the Marvel. We don't just discount Marvel. Okay, we are massive DC fans, but we are Marvel fans as well. Right, it's maybe not of the new stuff here, but we are still Marvel fans, so we do have some of that on there for you as well. Mantis, do you have anything else?
No. Again, I appreciate everyone watching, subscribing, liking, all the fun stuff. Just keep sticking with us, and we'll keep putting out the stuff.
Guys, I promise I am working. I'm not promising to do it. I'm promising that I'm working on it, about linking the videos we're discussing actually in the comments there, or in the description, as well as responding to all the comments, because we definitely do appreciate it. However, in an effort to keep this shorter than your average feature-length film, we're going to go ahead and wrap it on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, guys, we'll see you then.
Later.